When you're choosing a movie online, there are two websites that you're probably familiar with. It's IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes.
So this is what IMDb's rating system is based on.
It tells you how many people have rated it, but the percentage isn't necessarily what you think.
Rotten Tomatoes is celebrating their 25th anniversary this year. They've been around 25 years. That means they've been around since 1998.
That's basically ancient in internet terms.
Yes, very ancient in internet terms. And IMDb has been around even longer, 1992. Which
Prehistoric.
Is literally pre-internet, which is pretty impressive. Today we're going to be talking about a little bit of that history and how it's informed some of the design choices to this day.
So we've loaded up both Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb here. Comparing these two side by side, you can see how differently they welcome you to the movie page.
Yeah. On IMDb, for example, you have a lot of information about the movie. You know, you have the ratings, you have the trailer, which I think is the same between both, but then it jumps directly into the synopsis. You have pictures and videos off the bat that you can kind of scroll between and look at, as well as tags for kind of how to categorize the movie, which makes a lot of sense. You know, IMDb was originally created as an index, which is a series of people passing lists between each other, and the lists would grow. Slowly it started with, okay, actresses and actors, and like, okay, let's get some directors in here, let's get some cinematographers, and slowly just aggregated all this information and became what it is today.
You know, we can see the difference with Rotten Tomatoes, which came out as a way to aggregate critic reviews and not just a database of movies and actors. And right off the bat, the first thing you see is the tomato meter and the audience score right under the title. There isn't even a synopsis in sight here, because just below those is the critic consensus and the audience consensus.
Yeah, I think they do a fair thing, which is like, hey, watch the trailer.
I guess
that's
so.
the synopsis. Which
Judge it for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know, I feel like, well, there is one genre, which is action.
Okay.
But it doesn't, I don't know, like, I guess that's already a start in that difference in philosophy, right? What you surface with the UI can completely change the user's perception of what they should focus on. In this case, it's like, look at the ratings. Whereas on IMDb, it's like, oh, here are the tags, and
it's like,
here's a rating. Here's a rating. Little tiny 8.2. Can you guys see that in the corner there?
I mean, I think in general, it's a very original thing that Rotten Tomatoes did by allowing you to compare those two things. It really creates additional types of dialogue. I think when they were originally founded, it was just aggregating critics, and then very quickly, within a year or 2 years after that, they started adding the audience score. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess if you want to zoom out and think about like UX as more than just a digital interface, what was the user experience like without the user scores, right? Yeah. You would go on there, you would see what these critics have to say, but as the internet evolved, forums became more popular, you wanted to know what just a casual moviegoer thinks.
Exactly.
It became almost more important.
And you also want to maybe add your 2 cents to the mix as well. You know, it's more engaging as an experience to be able to contribute.
Right. So if we keep scrolling, where we can continue to see how these philosophies are different, right below the consensus and the audience says on Rotten Tomatoes, we have a where to watch.
Which is the same here, actually.
Okay, so I guess that's a telling of the world today, because we are streaming everything. But then right below that is rate and review, which is pretty different, because on IMDb, the section below that is the awards. Yeah. And then some videos.
And then some videos and then some photos again.
Yeah.
Which is shared between the two of them.
Right. It's just what comes before them is what's different, right? And I think that's super interesting to see. Keep on going. Now we see the movie information on Rotten Tomatoes. Like pretty far down, honestly.
Totally.
Whereas here it's like, what is this?
This is
about Keanu Reeves?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
About the individual actors, more information about their history.
More movies like this.
More movies like this, which is nice.
That doesn't come up for a while. Here we have some information and then it's reviews.
And here's more into the actual storyline. So an in-depth exploration of the story of the film that you're about to potentially go see.
Wow, okay.
And then finally, we get some goofy facts, which is fun.
Okay. And then user reviews.
And then user reviews. And this one's great. The user review is, yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting. There's not even really a mention of any critic reviews outside of the Metascore.
Yes, that's true.
Which was all the way at the top. Like if you click back to the top there's a little green square that says Metascore.
Yeah.
But like down below, where when you hit the reviews, it's just user reviews. Whereas here, it's kind of the opposite, actually. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's the critic reviews, and then there's some filters for them, which is cool. I can top critics, and then it takes me to a link where I can see that. But if I'm just hanging out on the main page, there's no user reviews here. Instead, the UI shows me a few interesting elements, mental shortcuts for me to understand, is this a good or a bad review, right? Rotten Tomatoes uses tomatoes for fresh, and then the splat for rotten, which means bad or good. There's no numeric score, really.
At a glance, you can quickly see everything you need to see by just scrolling through the top critic reviews.
Exactly. And if I want to see user reviews, I have to go all the way back to the top of the page and then click on the audience score, the verified ratings here, and then it loads me into a different page with those. I guess one thing that we haven't covered, which is sort of a UX thing, is how these scores are calculated.
Yeah.
So let's check out the IMDb score for John Wick.
Yeah, we looked it up and we're like, okay, let's see, what are these rating systems actually based on? So this is what IMDb's rating system is based on. We're going to put like a nice little graphic there that's just showing you how insanely complex this is. It includes a variety of things. We're not going to go through why and what exactly. You can look it up. We'll leave a link in the description if you're super curious about it for some reason. But I think the reason that it exists the way it does is to try and tease out some kind of more neutral, nuanced version of a rating, is my guess.
Right, because if we look at the rating here, it's 8.2 out of 10. And it tells you how many, right? So it's 138,000 and it's 8.2 out of 10. Whereas this, it tells you how many people have rated it, but the percentage isn't necessarily what you think. So it's 94% on the tomato meter and 93% on the audience score. And for the tomato meter, at least, that doesn't mean it's a 9.4 out of 10. What that means is that 94% of critics said that this movie is fresh. And I think fresh is anything above a 70%.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to note that difference because simply looking at it, I think a casual user would assume that John Wick has a score of 94 out of 100, but that's not at all what it's saying.
No.
It's just saying that 94% of those critics think it's good. How good? You have to click in to find out.
Exactly.
And I think that's a pretty, I'm not going to say it's deceptive, but I think that mentally, nobody really assumes that.
Yeah, I mean, it's curious, right? Like, we're talking about the functionality of these two things and the history of these two things. One is an aggregation of critics. Right. So what are you using this for? You're kind of looking at this to make a judgment call. In a way, one can assume. And with this one, maybe you're looking at it to get a bit more information about the movie, maybe look at who's involved in the movie, kind of find the individual players. So their rating system is informed by kind of trying to push a little bit more opinion-based stuff, kind of being like, okay, this many people think it's good. Just trust that it's good and then go see the movie, I mean, that's at least my thinking.
Right. That's actually, talking about philosophy, it's almost interesting to reflect like a lens inwards into the companies and think like if we are UX designers working at either one of these companies, how we make decisions would actually be super impacted by the company.
Yeah.
Like on Rotten Tomatoes, this was a UX decision.
Yes.
To have the rate and review so high up.
Whereas, just like it was to have the rate be a very, very inconvenient, tiny little button.
Right. And it's like, why are you like, what's your job here? Your job is to represent the company and also meet its users' expectations. Yeah. And so that kind of changes how you go about doing everything here.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, even in the review system, the way you navigate the reviews is much more detailed and meaningful in Rotten Tomatoes than it is here. Like, you can just click into this. Okay, you can check out the user reviews. You can filter the user reviews. There's a hide spoilers thing, which is pretty cool.
That's cool. It doesn't exist in Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I know, which is surprising. So, but also because critics have to be vetted, and you're only seeing the critics.
Yeah, you mean the critics are the primary.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an actual formal application process to be a critic on Rotten Tomatoes. Right.
Whereas in the way the score is calculated there, it's hidden in the equation in a way, but there is no vetting process. Sure. So that's also another interesting difference about those.
So really, you know, it depends what you're looking for in a movie. Obviously, if you want to get a general consensus of what people are thinking and just base it off that, Rotten Tomatoes seems like it'd be more your cup of tea. But if you're looking to kind of look at like maybe the cinematographer, or there's someone you really care about whose career you want to follow, or you want to find kind of the filmography of a particular actor and then go through that filmography in that way, IMDb serves that function well.
And if you're a designer, you know, what we hope you take away from this is just keeping your users in mind and your company's goal in mind when you're designing these interfaces. So that's it for today. We hope you enjoyed the show. Like and subscribe to support us if you want to see more like this. And let us know in the comments how you guys choose movies, what's your preferred site, and what are the details that you need to make an informed decision. That's it for today. See you next week.